What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know why I just did that. What the fuck is going on today? I don't have the nose. Today, we are going to be learning about conditions, and this is one of my favorite fucking videos to go over because they have improved my win rate so much and made my trading on the charts so much more easy to go over. And they're really, really simple to go over. Most of the time, I just use them on the 5 and 15 minute chart. You can use them for your entries as well. You can use them on literally every single time frame, and I'll go over exactly how to do that today. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Enough yapping, and let's get right into it. So the very first thing I want to talk about is just what a condition is, right? Basic definition. It's all it is just an assumption that we're turning into confirmation that we can then turn into an execution point, right? How do we take our trades? We just stack probability, and the more probability you have, the more likely our trade is going to play out and the more confident we're going to be in it, okay? So that's all conditions help us do, is just make us more confident in our trades. And this is why I love it, right? So an assumption is we are just anticipating on price going, right? Where are we anticipating on price going? Okay, we can anticipate something, but we don't have confirmation yet, so we're not going to enter, right? So how do we build conviction? Well, we're going to get confirmation. Is our conditions giving us what we want? Okay, build a confirmation. Once we get our confirmation, we wait for our last form of confirmation, which is going to be our execution, right? Where is the highest time frame IFVG in the manipulation leg, right? So let's just use this first example as our first example, okay? And it's just going to be the most basic example, and then we'll kind of get into more intermediate level ones. But right here we have our basic just continuation model, right? So as you see, price is just coming down, coming down, coming down. But what do we finally hit? We finally hit a bullish PD array. For the sake of this example, it's going to be a 4-hour bullish fair value gap, right? So now we understand that price has the possibility of rejecting off this certain area, but we don't really have conviction just yet because we haven't built that confirmation, right? So how are we going to build confirmation? Let's say in the manipulation leg down into this 4-hour fair value gap, we create maybe like a 5 or 15 minute gap, right? Okay, maybe we create like a 5 or 15 minute bearish gap. If I'm wanting to long, I'm not going to want to long off like the first 1 minute IFVG after hitting the 4-hour. Why? Because we have no internal structure and there's a bearish gap resting right above. So what am I going to wait for? What is the highest probability? Well, for us to start disrespecting bearish PD rays and start respecting bullish PD rays. Okay, so our first condition is now going to be this 5 and 15 minute bearish fair value gap. If I want to long, I need to see this get inverse. Okay. Once this gets inverse, right? So we have price delivering lower, finally hitting our higher time frame PD array. This is our assumption. Okay, we are assuming price can possibly reject off this area and go higher. Okay, we are waiting for confirmation. Price is truly for price to truly flip bullish. Okay, how are we knowing price is going to actually flip bullish? Well, we're starting to disrespect these middle time frame conditions, right? These middle time frame PD arrays, 5 and 15 minute fair value gaps just got disrespected. Okay, now let's say after our inversion of these 5 or 15 minute gaps, we end up actually creating a 5 and 15 minute bullish fair value gap, right? So now we have our higher time frame PD array right here, right? We have our 4-hour. We have our first condition that just got inverse, right? We had our bearish condition get inverse, exactly what we want to see if we want to take longs. Now we're starting to come down into a 5 or 15 minute bullish fair value gap, right? And we're starting to see a healthy retracement. We're not just going to enter off this 15 minute IFVG. Why? Because this RR is going to give us absolute dog shit, right? So what do we want to do? We want to wait for a better entry. We want to wait for price to rebalance out this leg. What do? We come down and hit our second condition. We can assume, okay, if we just run through this, right, and we inverse this 5 and 15 minute bullish gap back to the downside, it's probably just an example of bad price action, and we just want to stay the fuck out the markets. However, if we come down and start to see a rejection from this area, we can then be like, okay, not only do we get our higher time frame narrative, not only are we disrespecting middle time frame bearish PD rays, now we're starting to respect middle time frame bullish PD rays. All we're waiting for now is just our execution point. Okay, so we have our confirmation with our inversion, then we get a tap into the gap, and now if we see a rejection out of this, right, because our fair value gap is going to look something like this. Okay, boom. Just hit the 5 and 15 minute bullish gap. Let's say we get a 2 minute inversion, right? That's the highest time frame inversion in this manipulation leg down into this gap. Okay, awesome. We can go ahead, enter off that, and now what can we do? Well, now our stops can be at this low, and we can either target this high, this high, this high, whatever the case may be. But look at our RR now. So much better, and look at the probability compared to just entering off the first 1 minute of this 4-hour, right? Because we don't know if price is going to come up into this 15 minute gap and come down and maybe resweep out this leg down here. Okay, looks something like this, and then continue higher, right? Oh my god, I hate when it does it. right? It could do something like this, stopping you out if you have your stop loss right here at these lows. So we're just trying to stack probability, and that's exactly what we did right here, right? We have a higher time frame narrative, middle time frame condition number 1 getting inverse, awesome, exactly what we want to see. Middle time frame condition number 2 getting respected, awesome, that's exactly what we want to see. Lower time frame execution, perfect, we stacked probability. Now we can go ahead and target these highs up here. So not only does this stuff boost your win percentage, but it also makes us take like the highest probability trades that we can possibly enter off of, right? Like I said, if we just took that 1 minute version coming out of the 4-hour gap, there's no probability regarding in that. It's basically just a strictly guessing game. Higher probability trades we take, the most likely they're going to play out. We never know what the hell the market's going to do, so stacking probability is going to help calm our emotions over time. That being said, move on over to example number 2. Okay, counter trend trades. So right here we had a continuation model, right? Came down, hit the PDRA, retrace, boom. Now we're going to take a counter trend trade. Okay. This is going to be, right, we have counter trend trade example with internal structure and without internal structure. So same thing, say we come down, but we make a violent move down, right? Our highs aren't as prominent as these highs, right? Don't really matter. These are just like 1 minute highs, boom. Make a violent move down and we come into a 1 hour for value gap, okay? Price has a possibility of reversing, but we don't know that it's going to do so yet, right? So now we're just assuming, okay, it can reject off this area, but we don't 100% know. So how are we going to stack probability? Well, let's say we have a clear target above, right? Unfilled 15 minute, unfilled 5 minute. Awesome. Cool. Well, we're just waiting for more confirmation / internal structure, right? We're waiting for our condition. So let's say we have a bearish gap right here, and this is going to be our condition, right? We have a 5 minute bearish gap. Okay. If we can run through this 5 minute IFEG, awesome. That's the highest time frame inversion in that leg. If we're disrespecting a 5 minute PD rate, we're most likely going to continue higher towards these draws, especially coming out of a higher time frame PD rate, right? But let's say, for example, we have no internal structure and we don't really want to enter where, let's say we don't really like the close. Let's say the close happened like right here. We're kind of edging it, whatever. What is the best possible scenario to happen now? Well, the best possible scenario to happen now is, well, let's come down. Let's respect this PD rate. Let's retap into this 1 hour gap. Okay, right? We have our 1 hour gap right here. Let's say, let's come down. Let's retap into this gap. And then maybe we can build further confirmation. So what do we get now? Well, we get a resweep of these lows, and let's say with the resweep of these lows, we got an SMT. So like, awesome. Now we just built an internal high right here, right? We have a valid break-even point. Awesome. Now we have an SMT. We're still respecting this 1 hour. We haven't ran through this 1 hour yet, so price isn't telling us that we're going to continue lower at this time being. And let's say all of a sudden, after all that, right, now we're stacking probability. We have our 1 hour gap. We have a resweep with an SMT inside of this hourly gap. Awesome. Now let's say we come up and we invert our highest low time frame IFEG. In this case, let's just say it's a 3 minute, right? Whatever the case may be. Well, now we have our higher time frame narrative. We have an internal high, so we have internal structure now that we just built, okay? And now we have an SMT with a lower time frame inversion. So now all I'm waiting for, let's say price is right here. We create a 3 minute bearish gap. So now this execution point now becomes my last condition, okay? We built internal structure. We built narrative around this trade, right? We have a trade idea, okay? Now we're just waiting for this execution point, okay? So this last IFEG now becomes my condition. Our conditions are constantly changing. Boom, we get the IFEG. Go ahead, enter. Stops at the SMTs. Where's our take profit? 5 or 15 minute gap. Okay, let's say we can TP1 at the 15 minute, whatever. But what's most important in this trade, we have internal structure to push price higher. Boom. We have a valid break-even point. Go break even at that area, and hopefully price can do something like this. God, it never lets me fucking... You guys understand the idea. Something like this. I don't know why it fucking wouldn't let me do it. But boom. Trade ends up playing out. Awesome. Now, let's say we already have... Oh, shit. What did I just do? So now for this example, let's say we already have internal structure, right? And our manipulation leg is going into our higher time frame PD array. So again, we have a unfilled 4 hour right here. Boom. We come and hit the unfilled 4 hour. But let's say before we hit the 4 hour, we were already generating liquidity. And this was our manipulation leg lower. See the difference between this, how now we actually have internal structure compared to just a violent move down and just hoping to praying that we reject off this hourly, right? We have no internal structure, nothing to go off of. All we have is just unfilled gaps up here, okay? This looks a lot different. We already have valid break-even points. We see a slight accumulation zone. Even though we're accumulating lower or trending lower, we're still accumulating orders right here. So a whole bunch of chop. Boom. We get a valid manipulation leg. Awesome. Now, price is going to look like this sometimes. So what is going to be our condition? Well, now our condition isn't going to be a 5 or 15 minute gap. It's going to be, okay, cool. We have our AMD model playing out. This is our assumption. We come down, hit the 4 hour. Awesome. Our condition is now going to be this inversion. If we can run right through this inversion, let's call it a 3 minute again, or 2 minute or 1 minute. It doesn't fucking matter. Anything on the 1 to 5 minute highest time frame, right? Let's say we come up and we're not quite inversing yet. Cool. We're still respecting that condition. We want to see it get disrespected in order for us to enter. So we're not doing anything until this condition gets disrespected. All right. Let's say the very next candle. Boom. We end up inversing it. Awesome. Now we can go ahead, enter. Trade idea will look something like this. Condition / execution in this area. Boom. Enter off the inversion. Stops at the low. Go ahead, target all this LR and the unfilled 5 minute. Now, you guys might be asking, why aren't we waiting for a resweep, right? Why is this a little bit different? Well, because in this example, we already have internal structure. See the difference again, right? Violent move down. Now, this took me a few months to really understand, and I didn't understand it until probably about 3, maybe 4 months ago. And I always try to take counter trend trades, and I would just end up getting stopped out, and I wouldn't know why, even though there was a higher time frame narrative with an inversion. But I failed to realize that we had no internal structure helping our helping price get pushed higher or lower, depending on which way we're going, right? So clearly see the difference, right? No internal structure. We probably want to wait for internal structure to happen, get a resweep, whatever possible SMT with the resweep inside of that higher time frame PD array. This one, we're already generating internal liquidity. Boom, we get a clear manipulation leg, manipulation into our higher time frame gap. So now we're assuming, okay, price can possibly push higher. We don't have any 5 or 15 minute PD arrays that need to be disrespected. However, we do have our entry model. So in this example, our execution is our condition. Okay, if we can invert this lower time frame IFVG, boom, that is our execution point and or condition. So moving on over to our last example, I really want to say that, like I said, we can use this on every single time frame. So we can also use this to help determine our bias and where the next strong liquidity possibly wants to be. We don't really have to use them strictly for the 5 and 15 minute. We can use them to our advantage literally on every single time frame. So here's an example. Okay, and I actually have a live example I'm going to show you guys where this really happened, and it helped me the other day. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. However, let's say we're trending up, right? We're clearly in bullish structure. However, we end up coming and hitting a 1 hour gap, and now we're starting to see some rejection. Okay, market's about to open. What does market do? Well, if I want to remain bullish, I want to see some form of manipulation lower into this 1 hour gap, and then we can go ahead and look for longs from there. So if we get exactly what we want right at open, okay, we come down, hit the hourly gap, then we can do exactly what we anticipated on doing. Okay, this is our now condition. Can then look for a rejection off this. Let's say we already have internal structure, so we're just waiting for an inversion. Boom, we got a resweep. Maybe even with this resweep, we got an SMT, hypothetically, maybe, right? We get an inversion. Awesome. This 1 hour was our condition. Okay, come down, respect it, get an IFVG. Looks something like this. We have internal structure already. We have clear draws higher. Even though we're inside of a higher time frame bearish gap, we're still respecting this bullish gap, and we're already bullish, right? We have all this LR above. We can go ahead and target. Cool. We can go ahead and target that. Just go break even at this internal high. We'll be just fine. Okay. Hypothetically, though, let's say market opens and we, oh my God, I need to stop doing it. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And boom. Okay. We're just continuing lower and lower and lower. And then what ends up happening? Awesome. We end up inversing our condition, or our first condition, let's say. Okay. So we just inverse a higher time frame PD array. Okay. We're rejecting this 1 hour bearish gap, so we have a higher time frame narrative. So we can do one of two things here depending on what price is doing. Let me just move this over real quick because it'll look a little bit better. Oof, I don't know if that looks better. All right, that looks a little bit better. Awesome. We just inverse this gap, right? So now this is a 1 hour inversion, 1 hour fair value gap. Okay. If we come and let's say we create like a 5 or 15 minute gap right here. Okay, what can we do? Well, now we can go and take a continuation model short if the opportunity does present itself down towards this low, okay, or these unfilled gaps down here. Why? Because what is our narrative? Well, now our narratives, we're probably going to lean a little bit more bearish for the time being until we hit our next condition. Okay, so this is our next higher time frame condition, but until this gets hit, we're looking for narrative to push price lower. Okay, what do we end up getting right here? A 5 or 15 minute fair value gap. Let's just call it a 15 minute, right? We get a 15 minute gap. Okay, we get a tap into it, rejection lower. Let's say we get an IFVG coming out of it. Boom, we can go ahead and short something like this. Stops at the highs, TP at the unfilled gap, and your trade idea can look something like this. Okay, once this 4 hour gets hit, this is no longer our condition. Okay, This is no longer our condition because we just took out our narrative, right? That condition helped us push price towards our next higher time frame narrative. We then come and take it out. Boom. That condition is now over with. We're now looking for a different condition. So now if we want a long off of this, okay, we have to look at how price is reacting off this. We have internal structure, right? We have a high right here. Okay. We have all this LR above. Boom. We have clear structure to go ahead and long. What do I want to look for? Well, did we create any 5 or 15 minute gaps on the way down? If so, I most likely want to invert them. Okay. Or let's just say we, especially if it's 15-minute, in this case, I'll do 2 examples, okay? Let's use a 15-minute, for example, because we're never going to take a 15-minute inversion to go ahead and enter. So let's say we do end up inversing a 15-minute for value gap. Then we're going to have to wait for like a retrace into a 5-minute and then continue higher, right? Just like our very first continuation model example I showed you. However, if we can find like a 5-minute inversion somewhere in here, okay, boom, we get a 5-minute IFVG. Holy moly, I suck at drawing on this shit. Boom, we get the 5-minute IFVG coming out of a 1 hour and 4 hour PD array. Awesome. What is that telling us? That price is most likely going to want to continue higher. We just disrespected this first 1 hour because we only wanted to come and tap into this one. Awesome. Go ahead, enter off this 5-minute IFVG. What can we do? We can go ahead, target these highs up here, all this LR, whatever the case may be. Okay. Now, if we're still respecting this 5-minute, again, like I said, if we're still respecting this 5-minute, we can then look for a possible resweep, possible SMT. But let's say we hit this 5-minute and then we continue to dump through this 1 hour and 4 hour bearish gap. Well, now, okay, what is price telling us? We just inverse all these gaps. What are we doing? We're disrespecting bullish PD arrays. We're respecting bearish. Awesome. Let's say we kind of missed shorts in this bearish continuation model right here. Let's say we missed shorts right here. Okay, what can we go ahead and do? Well, let's go ahead, find the next draw on liquidity. Let's say we have TP1 right here, TP2. What can we do now? Well, all we're going to do now is just wait for another 5 or 15 minute gap to come, and we're going to rebalance this leg and then continue lower. Okay, why are we going to do that? Because we're not just going to enter all the way the fuck down here. This would be a horrible, horrible RR for our trade. So what are we going to do? We're going to take the highest probability scenario, wait for a retrace into a 5 or 15 minute for value gap, our condition, one would say. Here it goes right here. Inverse, stops at the highs, and look at this RR compared to the first one. A lot better. 2.3 compared to like a 0.7, whatever that first one was. So that is how you can use your higher time frame inversions to your advantage as well. And if you guys do have any questions on inversions, I have an entire understanding inversions video that I'll leave in the description after this. So jumping on over to our live examples, we're just going to start at the beginning of the week. We're going to start on January 19th, 2026. Today is January 22nd. I think there was pretty good examples in this week. Price action hasn't been too bad, so we should be able to get a few examples off. So coming into this morning, let's just go like this. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily say we're bullish or bearish. I mean, we're kind of leaning just a little bit more bearish, but we have draws higher. We also have draws lower with all this LR. Pretty sure we have unfilled gaps to the left of us, right? We have this unfilled hourly. We have this unfilled 4 hours. So maybe we want to see shorts, whatever the case may be, right? But at this point in time when market opens, I know the 6 a.m. candle on the 4 hour is still fluctuating. So this isn't open yet, this 4 hour bearish gap, but I know that it has the chance of opening. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind, and I'm watching how price is playing out before 10 a.m. God, I gotta stop saying So like I said, we're also inside of a 1 hour bearish gap as well. So if we come up, maybe sweep out these 1 hour intermediate highs, and then we can continue lower. We can target all this LR, maybe these unfilled gaps, whatever. But if we come down and take out all the sell side first, then we can maybe look for longs towards these relatively highs, and then maybe an unfilled 4 hour gap. So at this point in time, I'm just sitting on my hands, waiting for price to do something. Okay, what do we end up creating? We end up creating a 5 minute for value gap right here. What are we creating on the 15 minute? We end up creating a 15 minute for value gap, and then above that 15 minute for value gap, we also have another 5 minute. So I'm like, okay, if I want to take longs, I maybe want to see like this gap get inverse, maybe even these two gaps get inverse, something like this, continuation model to make something like this, right? So we're going to start having to create conditions. So at this point in time, I'm like, okay, we just created a 5 minute gap. Even though we just took out all the sell side right here, we still have clear draws lower with those higher time frame unfilled for value gaps, right? So if we truly are bearish on the day, I don't believe we have an SMT at the highs. 810 didn't get swept out. So, I mean, we have an SMT with this high right here. Not really a prominent high in my eyes because it's not inside of a fair value gap. But we do have an SMT right here. And at this point in time, now we're just continuing farther and farther down. So I'm like, okay, cool. what's going on? Okay, now we're starting to see some rejection. So if we can come up, this is now my condition, right? This 5-minute bearish value gap is my condition. If we can come up and reject it, okay, I can then go ahead and target this internal low and just take a continuation model lower. But if I want a long, I gotta wait for this to get inverse and wait for more confirmation that we're actually going to flip bullish. So let's go ahead and see how this plays out. Boom, next candle runs right through it. So okay, so now we got the inversion. But what are we about to hit? Well, there's a 15-minute fair value gap right above us, unfilled 5-minute. So if we do something like this and we edge the 15-minute, and then we end up creating, let's say, like a 5-minute fair value gap right here, right? Let's just say hypothetically we end up creating a 5-minute fair value gap. Boom, we create a 5-minute bullish gap and we see a rejection out of this gap. Then we can go ahead and take longs towards these unfilled fair value gaps right here. And we can either go break even at them and hold to the external draw, or we can just take profits right here for a small trade, right? A little scalp trade, whatever the case may be. So we got to watch how price is reacting. What does this next candle do? Boom. Okay, now this is telling me we're pretty bullish, right? We just inverse this other 5-minute gap right here. Boom. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, we have confirmation in flipped order flow. I need to see a pullback so I can get a better entry, right? And now, even though we're still kind of like inside of this 15-minute, right? This candle is closing at 10 o'clock. Let's see what time it is with this candle. So it's 10 o'clock. So at simultaneously, right, this 15-minute and this 5-minute just got inverted. So I'm like, awesome. Longs are looking great now. Longs are looking beautiful. All I need to see is a pullback into this fair value gap, and I'm good to go long towards these relative equal highs up here. What ends up happening? Okay, didn't get anything yet. Now we have just a giant fair value gap. I need to see rebalance into this range still. These are now my conditions. Still haven't got none. We got 3 fair value gaps. I at least need to see this middle one get touched, right? Okay, boom. The first one gets touched. All right, now the second one gets touched. So now I'm like, okay, we're inside of this fair value gap. We could go lower and tap this last one, but I know that we are pretty bullish now. We have relatively equal highs above. We have this relatively equal high as well. We can potentially take long. So now I'm looking for the highest time frame inversion in the manipulation leg. Okay, right here we have series of down close candles, up, down, right? So we have an order block right here, bearish for value gap. So I'm like, okay, here's our 1 minute. Is there a 2-minute anywhere? Nope, no 2-minute. All right, is there a 3-minute? Not seeing a 3-minute. And so no 4-minute just yet. Let's see what these next series of candles do. Okay, we're continuing lower. Is there a 5-minute now? Maybe there's a 5-minute. Boom. Okay, there's a 5-minute. So at this point in time, we're stuck in a range between 2 conditions. If this is the case, we have to look at our higher time frame, right? What is our higher time frame telling us? Well, right, we have the 4-hour right here. Obviously, 10 a.m. runs right through it, but we have to see what's happening now because technically that candle closed at what, 2 o'clock. So this is now an unfilled 4-hour for value gap. Boom. Okay, that has relatively equal highs at it, and then this relatively equal high as well. So now I'm like, okay, if we come up and hit this 5-minute, I probably don't want to short because then there's an unfilled 4-hour up here. We're still inside of this bullish gap, right? We have to use some sort of conviction, even though conditions do work. All right, what ends up happening? Boom. We run right through that 5-minute. Awesome. I'm going ahead and entering. Stop somewhere down here. Damn, only a 22-point stop loss. That's not bad at all. Price wasn't moving like shit. I would have full ported this bitch. Let's see how this plays out. 5-minute and does it end up playing out? Bang, it ends up playing out. Now maybe we could have went break even somewhere. We see a possible rejection off this level right here. So maybe there was an unfilled gap. No, maybe, or an SMT, sorry. Maybe there was an unfilled gap somewhere. No, I'm not really seeing it. We did have 3-minute intermediate highs, but yeah, you would have just dealt with a little chop, and ultimately this would have ended up playing out. 5-minute inversion, continuation. Now let's see if there is another condition after it, right? We just came up and hit this 4-hour gap, and if we continue to want to long, we have to wait for this fair value gap to come get touched. Now this is going to be our new condition. Okay, if we run right through it, we can assume, okay, we're going to go to this low, this low, this low. We have our higher time frame narrative with the bearish 4-hour, but if we want to continue higher towards all this stacked LR up here on the higher time frames, we most likely want to see a retrace into here, especially because this is a wickless candle, and then we can continue higher. So let's see how, go ahead and see how this plays out. Looks like we're just continuing bullish on the day. Let's go back to the 5-minute. Boom, we just create hella gaps. There's probably a 15-minute in here now. Nope, no 15-minute. Let's see, there is a 5-minute, so we have a double 5-minute. Next candle. Awesome. So at this point in time, okay, what do we have? We have a tap into this 4 hour. We do have a 5-minute inversion, but we're still inside of this 5-minute bullish gap. So if I want to short, I need to see one of two things. I either need to see this 5-minute get inverse and then a pullback, or a pullback and then a good rejection off of it. And then we can go ahead and target all these lows. Now, what do we end up getting? Or, since we tap into this, right, our third and final option can be we run right through this. Let me just change this up real quick. We run right through this bearish gap and we continue going up, right, going long. What ends up happening? Okay, nothing yet, nothing yet. Almost gets inverse, not quite yet. Not quite yet. Finally get inverse right here. I mean, you probably don't want to enter off this because you can see price is clearly slowed down a little bit. But for the sake of this example, let's just say we go ahead and enter off this. Awesome. Stop somewhere down here. Let's say we can put it underneath this now newly created condition, right? If this condition comes and gets inverse, maybe we have a SMT at the high. Nope, not yet. So if it gets inverse, probably just an example of bad PA, and you probably want to stay out of this, right? It's already late anyway, 11:40, but let's go ahead and see how this plays out. Stops right here. We can aim for a 1-to-1. Let's go ahead and see. Boom. And price ends up hitting probably like an hour and a half fucking later. But ultimately, this ended up playing out. So jumping on over to Tuesday, the very next day, right? What do we still have? We still have all of our higher time frame draws to the, above us. I believe we still have the unfilled hourly in. Oh no, it looks like we ended up taking out the hourly. Right here is our hourly gap. Oh my God, if it wants to go. Okay, and then we still have the 4 hour as well. I believe we came down, tapped in the 4 hour pre-market. Yep, we are inside of this 4 hour gap as well. So all in all, looking pretty good, right? We just came down, hit some high time frame PD rays. We do have this tiny 4 hour bearish gap right here. Maybe we want to use that as our higher time frame, what's it called? Condition, right? To determine our bias, whatever the case may be. Let's go down to the hourly. Boom. Prior to market open, I can see that unfilled 4 hour right here. Okay. Which is also the entry point to an unfilled hourly. Don't really see anything higher. Awesome. Cool. We have our draw higher and we have draws lower with these lows down here. Okay. And I believe there's still an unfilled 4 hour down here as well with this. Yeah. So we still have this unfilled 4 hour down here that we potentially want to go down and seek out before continuing higher. So let's go ahead and see how market opens. Boom. We come up, hit this bearish 4 hour gap. However, even though we hit a bearish 4 hour gap, this is a perfect example of using a condition to our advantage right here, right? Even though we just hit this bearish 4 hour gap, let me delete this shit. What ends up getting created? We now create two 5-minute fair value gaps, right? We have this fair value gap, this fair value gap. Awesome. Okay, cool. If I'm going to short, I'm going to need to see both of these get ran through, maybe a continuation model down, or if it gives us a good close, we can go ahead and enter off the inversion. However you guys trade, right? But how does price end up reacting off of this? What do? We come down into it, right? We have internal structure, high, high. Okay, awesome. We have a 1-minute inversion. Is there a 2-minute? No 2-minute, no 3-minute, no 4-minute. There's not going to be a 5-minute. So highest time frame inversion in this leg is this 1-minute gap right here. Awesome. Go ahead and enter off this 1-minute IFVG. Right, we came down into this 15-minute or 5-minute fair value gap right here. Ended up being our condition. Go ahead and do something like this. Go ahead, enter. Stops at slow down here. TP at the high. Let's go ahead and see how this plays out. Boom. And it ended up playing out. And I believe the reason why I ended up retracing because this candle right here, we ended up creating a bearish SMT. Now, you most likely would have went break even when that happened, and this would have been a break even trade. But if you're holding through this, maybe let's say you're on evals or something, and you want to see it play out. Awesome. This trade ended up playing out. Now, let's see what price is doing later on. Okay, we're kind of chopping on the 5-minute. Is there anything on the 15-minute? Awesome. We do end up creating a 15-minute bearish gap right here, or a bullish gap right here. So again, if I want to short, I need to see this 15-minute get inverse before shorting, and then look for maybe a 5-minute continuation down towards all these stacked lows right here in this unfilled 4 hour. Whatever. If we want to continue to long, this 15-minute has to come down and get touched, and then we need to see a rejection out of it. So let's see how price plays out. Okay. Doesn't look like there's any 4-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute. Let's see, 3-minute, nothing yet. Okay, awesome. We have a 2-minute right here that we can potentially use as an IFVG, but we haven't even hit this 15-minute yet, so we got to wait till this 15-minute comes and gets hit. Awesome. We now came down, hit the 15 minute, didn't create anything else. Don't have a 3 minute, don't have a 4 minute. It doesn't look like. Oh my god, the fucking chart hates the 4 minute. Nope, but what do we have? We have a 1 minute right here. So if we want, we can go ahead and take this 1 minute for very discretionary. You can go break even at the 2 minute. However, I wouldn't recommend that. Want to wait for something just a little bit more clear. Not really liking the inversion. Hypothetically, if you did want to take this, like, I mean, I guess you can if you want to pattern trade it, but it doesn't look the best. We're kind of generating LR at the stop. A higher case scenario would be we come down and re-sweep this low inside of this gap and then continue up. So let's just see how this plays out for the sake of the video. Come down, get a re-sweep. Okay, what do we end up doing now? Now we really end up running through this gap, and what do we also do? I believe we also enter off this 2 minute. Yep, we also run through this 2 minute gap as well. Awesome. So now I'm going to go ahead and enter. Kind of a botched entry, the big ass candle right here. Okay, what ends up happening? I mean, I guess you can come down and put your stop loss just at the bottom. Get rid of this, this no longer matters. Just at like the bottom of this wick. Kind of gives us a shit RR, 60-point stop loss. Not the best of trades, not the best of stop loss position. However, what are we going to do? We're just going to aim for a 1-to-1. Okay, we're definitely going to go break even at these highs up here. And let's see how this plays out. Boom. Hit your 1-to-1. And it worked out again. Awesome. So let's go ahead and move on to Wednesday, which was, I think, yesterday. So if this is what we're looking at coming into Wednesday morning, right? This is at 9:29, so right before market opens. Clearly bullish. What are we doing? Created a 15-minute for value gap pre-market, right, with this 9:15 candle. Created a 5-minute intermediate low right here. Okay, is there anything else? Maybe there's an hourly. Don't see an hourly yet. Okay, what's our draws higher? Well, we have this unfilled hourly gap higher that we can potentially mark out. Remember, this big ass dildo right here has not happened yet, technically. So come over here. What did we tap into? Well, we have this unfilled hourly right here that we used in the previous example that actually didn't end up getting hit. And right in that same general area, we have General Motors, and unfilled 4 hour as well. So what do we do? Didn't quite hit the hourly, but we did come down, hit the 4 hour. Okay, taking out all this LR right here on the 4 hour time frame. Awesome. What do we get? See a clear rejection. Probably don't want to enter off anything in here. Nothing looks too good, but what do we get? We get a clear rejection higher. What are we in? We're inside of this bearish 1 hour gap. So awesome. We're inside of a 1 hour gap. Doesn't really matter though. Why? Because we have decent amount of draws higher, right? We have the new week opening gap, this high, these highs up here, right? These highs, whatever the case may be. So now I'm still like, okay, I'm using my conditions. We're rejecting a hourly at this point, and we're rejecting a 4 hour. 4 hour bullish gap, 1 hour bearish gap. So now I'm going to use my middle time frames to help me determine, okay, where is price going to draw to next? What do we have? We have this 5-minute for value gap with the low resting inside of it. Let me just make this like blue. And then we also have a 15-minute gap that opens up as well. So I'm like, awesome. Now market open. If these gaps get inverse, I can assume, okay, maybe we are going to go back down towards this low, and this low. Or if they get respected, I can assume that we're going to go higher towards that new week opening gap. So let's go ahead and see how this trade plays out. Right? Inside of these gaps, exactly what I want to see. Now I'm just waiting to see if they get inversed or respected. What's up happening? Okay, kind of chopping around. Okay, boom. We get a giant manipulation leg down coming out of this nice little lower time frame AMD model. Awesome. What do we get right here? Fair value gap getting created. If we inverse this gap, we have internal structure, right? We have these internal highs right here. We have this high up here. Boom. Is there a 2 minute? Doesn't look like it. Is there a 3 minute? I do see an unfilled 3 minute right here. So if you wanted to go break even at the unfilled 3 minute, you can. Is there a 4 minute? Dude, my fucking computer hates the 4 minute time frame. There is a 4 minute, but we have 4 minute intermediate highs, so we can use those as a break even point. So now I'm like, okay, if we can go ahead and inverse this 1 minute gap right here. Go ahead and inverse it. Not yet. Okay, boom. Here's our entry point. I actually took this trade. I do remember this trade. Stops right here. Just below the 1 minute for value gap. And my TP was right here. And I believe this ended up running all day long. But we could have went break even at the unfilled 3 minute, right? Here's price. Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Kind of getting edge of our break even. Boom. Break even now. TP runs. Awesome. I believe it's going to continue to run the rest of the day. So that ends up playing out. So if we want a long again, what do we need to wait for? We need to wait for another condition to open up. this condition no longer matters, right? It already delivered to the next draw on liquidity. Okay, cool. Now we're waiting for our new condition. Boom. Boom, boom. I just made a boom, boom in my pants. Why did I say that? Jesus Christ. That's what this day ended up doing. Look at all these 5-minute candles. So, hypothetically, I mean, if you want to pattern trade this, I guess you could take this. Doesn't really look the greatest just because of how fucking premium we were. Didn't get really a clear inversion out of this anyway. Maybe there was a 30-second in there, maybe there was a 15-second, whatever. I really wouldn't necessarily enter off this, but again, for the sake of this video, I guess we can use it, right? Come down, tap into it. Like I said, I didn't see an inversion in there, but maybe in this case we can use like a break structure or CISD. We get a CISD right here. Get a 1-minute CISD. Stops at the lows. Take profit where? Let's just put it to like these highs, whatever the fucking case may be. Now, as you can see, price ended up delivering right to it. So with that being said, my little jitlets, that will be all for today's video. Questions, comments, concerns, please go ahead, leave them in the comments. Free Discord, link in the description. 40% off right now, code LOWGP on Lucid Trades, link in the description for that as well. For the Lucid Black plans, any other 50K, 25K accounts, 30K off. 30K off, wow, 30% off. Check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something. Hope I taught you something. All right, peace and love, my brother.